And there may be so many men simping for you in your comments that you don't believe that any men would say no to you. But the reality is there's a lot of men who would say no to you. Now, the group of men that you can choose from gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And here's the other part. Women are saying, I want commitment. I want commitment now. And then maybe sex is a possibility later. And then these men up here at the top are saying, I want sex now. And then commitment is a possibility later. And because we can't agree on the price of sex, then never the two shall meet. And we have the lowest number of people hooking up, the lowest marriage rate, and the lowest rate of fertility.
Because a lot of women will relate this to me as well. They'll say, Rollo, how do I find a guy? Like, where are the nice guys? They'll be like in their like their early 30s. I'm like, where can I find a nice guy? Like, they're in your 20s where you left them, in your party years when you were having a good time. And that guy wasn't quite good enough, but he was fun to but he wasn't. But he wasn't.
That too.
Okay, hear me out. Because what happens is we kind of do women dirty in the sense so that we tell them, like, you need to go get the bag, you need to go to college, you need to go and basically follow the same kind of life plan or life track that a guy does, right? Because that's the key to success. And the reason for that is because guys ain't shit. Okay, guys are untrustworthy, they're incompetent, they're Homer Simpson, they're doofies, they're cringe, whatever. Basically, you got three archetypes to choose from. You've got Homer Simpson, the doofy dad that needs a wife to sort of save him from himself. Then you've got the guy who's a borderline, he's going to be the narcissist. He's a borderline abuser, right? That women keep going back to and they just can't seem to get away from that guy. And then recently, we've got the incompetent guy. Thank you, millennials. The guys who can't drive a stick, the guys who can't change a tire, the guys who need to hire a plumber, the guys who need somebody to come and do something for them because they can't tie a necktie, right? If those are the three options, the archetypes that women have to choose from, marry and have children with, and they're like, I don't want any of those guys, I don't have anything to do with them. They've got to find some way to create their own security for themselves. And how do they do that? They go to school, they go and get the bag, they go and start a business, they go into theology or whatever, they go to school, whatever, because they can't trust a man to do those things, to be competent, to give them a sense of long-term security. I have so many women who say, I would never trust a man. I would never submit to a man because they're untrustworthy. They don't know what they're doing. I can provide for myself my own long-term security better than any guy that I have dated or any guy that I see out there right now. So the pickings and the selections are so poor. And that's exactly what this chick was saying in the video here, was like, these guys suck. So because they suck, I have to be better to take care of myself because I can't trust a man to take care of me and take care of my children.
And then nobody has babies.
Nobody, yeah, exactly. And no one has children as a result of that. And so what happens is it's this sort of existential fear for women that if I get with the wrong dude, my whole life could be ruined. Absolutely. And so therefore I've got to build all of these contingencies into my life so that if shit goes sideways and he starts fucking his secretary and he wants to have a trophy wife and leave me later on when I'm not as hot as I used to be when I was in 25 and now I'm 35, I've got to be prepared. I have to have fail safes in place. So if this guy loses his in his mid 30s or mid 40s, whatever, I'm going to be taken care of. I want alimony. I want a solid divorce. I want to have all of these fail safes in place, whether it's societally or personally. And then what happens is no one trusts anyone to the point where, like the way that we used to prior to the sexual revolution and prior to where we are right now in the 21st century, as opposed to the 20th century. So what you're saying and what I hear from, I'm seeing you nodding here, is like, I hear this from women all the time. Like, how do I find a guy? And I say, well, you need to start getting in touch with your inner feminine, your feminine energy, right? You need to get in touch with your femininity. And the problem is whenever I say that to them, they say, so what you're saying is I have to dumb myself down for guys who are not worth my fucking time because they're untrustworthy in the first place. And that's why men stay over here and women stay over here and never the two shall meet, because they both don't trust each other.
Okay, so I've been the woman that fully shows up for someone that wasn't prepared for me. Yeah, I think there's a lot to say with that. It does take like a man showing up in his masculine, for a woman to be kind of in her feminine. But the problem there is the mentality, like saying all men are shit, all men are this. That's the problem. You are naturally going to attract that, what you're telling yourself. I think if you show up as your best self, you put your best self out there, then that's what you're going to attract.
Generally, we have girls on here that are on OnlyFans, so they're making like way more money than any guy who would ever make more than they would to bring them out of, to stop them from doing OnlyFans.
Consider you make $100,000 a month.
And it doesn't have to be only. It could be other things.
Now, the men you want to date make more than $100,000 a month. So that's the first thing. And then number two, like there are a certain group of men, believe it or not. I know ladies don't want to believe me when I say this. There's a certain group of men that are not going to date you because you're a sex worker. You might not know that they're doing it. And there may be so many men simping for you in your comments that you don't believe that any men would say no to you. But the reality is there's a lot of men who would say no to you. And so now the group of men that you can choose from gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And here's the other part. And Orion Taraban, I love the way he puts this. He's like, women are saying, I want commitment now, and then maybe sex is a possibility later. And then these men up here at the top are saying, I want sex now, and then commitment is a possibility later. And because we can't agree on the price of sex, then never the two shall meet. And we have the lowest number of people hooking up, the lowest marriage rate, and the lowest rate of fertility. That's what happens. You want to go to the next one?
Yeah, but before we do, I have to do this one super chat from our friend Tiffany.
What she said?
Ladies, face it, we're all doomed. Break out the dildos and rescue some cats and dogs.
Well, I would say, also think about it. Like when men are in their 20s, they're also very dumb. Like the brain isn't even fully developed.
So pick a 40-year-old man when you're in your 20s.
Well, no, or the brain isn't fully developed until when?
25.
35.
25. I don't know. Like
35.
Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton developed a differential calculus at 26
your
years old.
prefrontal cortex matures fully at 25 years old.
Yeah, 25 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why insurance companies won't
I've
insure
learned
the
that,
big
I've
brain
learned
on
that
roll.
the brain solidifies around 35. So I would definitely not have.
Real quick, does anybody else have anything to say about this, about like not being able to find a man that can live up to your standards?
You kind of said earlier about how a man, like, they can impress a woman by, you know, taking them places that a girl can never go to and so forth.
Yeah.
But it's like, at least like with my job, especially what I do for my videos and all that, I can take myself there. So I have found it a little bit difficult when it comes to dating. A guy will be like, I want to take you somewhere you've never been. And they'll give me a list. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I've been to like all of these. And then like in the end, they give up.
Can you imagine dating Norma Jelly somewhere in Vegas and like the restaurant owners come out to her because they want her to like get good reviews on her show? And so like everywhere you go, people are taking pictures over there. Can you imagine that?
It's
Does that ever happen? Have you been on dates before and people are like, oh my God, I love your channel?
Mhm.
Yes, I can
Yeah,
imagine.
I have. And it's fine. I mean, I definitely think it tests how the guy would, you know, be in a relationship with me and how they can take it. But I mean, it's not like a negative, you know, situation when someone does come up and say hello. It's usually a positive thing. So, and that's why, in a sense, I feel like I'm the man, because I'm like, oh, look, I'm showing like that I got a good life. I don't know.
Yeah, because you're producing resources, your own security, and the guys that aren't doing that, you don't want to have anything to do with them. Because for women, it's really two sides. It's the alpha and beta bucks. Sorry, evolutionary psychologists, gatekeepers. But it's the guys who are hot and fun to have sex with, right? And then there's the guys who can provide you with provisioning, protection, and parental investment, right? And those are the guys who have resources. Those are the guys who have money. Those are the guys who care about, who like you and are nice to you. Those are the guys who are emotionally invested in you and also financially and lifetime invested in you as well. And if you can provide those things better for yourself than any of those guys can, why would you work with them?
You were saying something, Michelle?
Okay, so someone told me this recently, and they were saying that like the girl that went like viral for like, I want a man in finance or whatever.
6'5",
She like did
blue eyes, blue
all
eyes.
those statistics that she said in it, and the probability of like which ones were actually single and not single. There was only 2 of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you know that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
So like that's crazy to me. Like out of all that, and people like look up to it. You know, I mean, there's only 2 people, and those people are probably even dating people themselves.
Yeah, it is pretty nuts when you see it.
It's pretty rare.
And what kind of jades it for some of those people? Maybe
so
they're
it's not
in New York.
it's not like a thing that's common. And
Yes.
everyone's like, oh, this is my like expectations of what I want for people, but it's very rare that those people you can actually have
Yes.
and
Yeah,
have yourself. They do exist, obviously, but like it's rare that you can actually find a person like
Was
that.
it 2 in New York or 2 in the world? Was it?
I heard it was. I don't know. I don't know. I think it was 2 in the world, or
I think it was 2. No,
Their
there was
city
one.
or
There was one
something.
where they were showing there was like 2
Yeah.
in, but it wasn't 6'5" with blue eyes like that. It's like there's probably 2 in the
yeah.
country that are available.
That
That are
were
in the-
single.
in the-
They
that
narrowed
are
it
single
down.
and in the right
They
age
narrowed
range.
it down the same
6'5" and blue eyes and 65 years old is not included.
Who's in finance, who's single,
Yeah.
who's everything, and it was actually I think it was 2 in the world.
Yeah, I know a lot of
That's
broke dudes in
crazy.
finance,
Yeah.
by the way. That's
and
another
those 2
thing.
people
Like,
are most
work at
likely
H&R Block.
probably in
Yeah.
relationships or like have girls on the side too. So
She
your
might not be their
probability your probability of finding somebody like that is like less than having a kid when you're 50.
Yeah.
And some things aren't realistic, but
Yeah.
like again, well, side note, my sister-in-law, when she was in her 20s, she had a miscarriage. Her first kid, she had at 31. Her second kid, she had at 38. My other friend that I know who was in college with me, she had her last 4 boys from 32 to 37. Now, my second friend from college, Indian girl, she just had her second boy at 37. So I'm just saying, and these are just 3 random people that I know that's close to me. So I'm just saying you can't. And they didn't go through life freaking out like, oh my God, I'm not 25. It's over. You know what I mean? So I would say like, don't put that type of.
We didn't say freak out at 25. At 35, freak out. That's what we're saying.
At 40, really freak out.
And at 38, she had her second
I'm
kid.
33 and I'm kind of low key freaking out. So,
So does anybody want to be nice and have babies with Michelle Brittany Martin?
Yes.
Slide
Hit
in
us
the
up.
DMs now. Or
Super
hey,
chat.
by the way, big enough
Super chats
super chat.
only.
Big enough super chat. I'll set a date up.
Yeah, exactly.